Lawmakers in Virginia are investigating startling abuse allegations against staff members at a juvenile detention facility, following a report from the Associated Press unearthing court filings that detailed it all. We caught up with AP reporter Michael Biesecker about what exactly he found and what he thinks could happen next. You recently reported on court filings that you found that allege really horrible abuse at the Shenandoah Valley facility where they hold immigrant children. So just walk me through what you found. What are these kids that stayed there claiming happened?
It was 6 sworn statements from kids, mostly from Mexico and Central America, who arrived in the U.S. as unaccompanied minors. And it says that they were transferred to Shenandoah Valley Juvenile Detention Center, which holds about 30 immigrant kids at a time, for various behavioral issues. In some cases, they were listed as having a gang affiliation, which they denied. And then on a mission to the facility, it's pretty clear they weren't gang members, but they were there because of behavioral issues, and in some cases, pretty significant mental health issues related to trauma that occurred in their home countries. Once arriving there, they say that the guards treated them poorly, that would often provoke confrontations that went both ways. But when the teens got in confrontations with the guards, whether it was pushing a guard or resisting being forced to do something, the guards, according to the teens, would retaliate with overwhelming force, resulting in them being handcuffed, shackled, some cases bound to a chair with a bag over their heads, and then in other cases all their clothes stripped away, all their belongings taken out of their cell, and them left for days in solitary confinement with no clothes, which in a concrete cell can be pretty cold. They say they were freezing.
So has anything happened to these guards that are accused of doing this?
We know of one circumstance from court filings where a guard at the facility was dismissed. He lost his job. He filed a wrongful termination lawsuit alleging that, denying that he assaulted a teen, which is what he was accused of, but instead saying that he was fired because of racial discrimination. He's African American. A majority of the managers and guards at the facility are white, which has also triggered accusations from the teens that they were treated poorly because of their race. But that case was later dismissed. It's not clear what happened there, except that the details from that guard's lawsuit match some of the details from the kids' complaints, like being held in Alpha Pod if they misbehaved, which was a specific pod within the facility for kids that were considered problems, where some of these abuses allegedly took place. This guard acknowledges that he worked in Alpha Pod and was accused of striking a child.
There's obviously been a lot of response to this reporting. The governor said that he wants to launch an investigation. Both Democratic senators have said that they also want an investigation. So from here on out, what do you expect to see in like a formal investigation? What could happen next?
This is under the Department of Health and Human Services. Once the kids are transferred into HHS custody, they're under the purview of something called the Office of Refugee Resettlement. I would expect the HHS IG may end up doing an investigation of this issue. Certainly in Virginia, 2 state agencies have been assigned to do investigations. Since this is a local facility, it is governed by the state. The facility contracts with the federal government to house these kids for about $4 million a year. So these investigations will advance. The lawsuit will advance. There will be discovery in that lawsuit, court hearings, eventually possibly a trial. So additional information about this case will continue to come out, and maybe we'll get to the bottom of what happened.
So in the meantime, though, it's just going to be business as usual there, right?
We've received no comment, no on-the-record comment at all from Health and Human Services or the Office of Refugee Resettlement. They've not responded to our inquiries, including questions like, when did y'all learn of the abuse claims and what did y'all do? Was there an investigation? Is there an investigation? Will there now be an investigation? They won't answer those questions. So it's difficult to say what might happen as far as potentially like removing the kids from the facility or the federal government canceling its contract with the facility. We won't know more until they decide to respond to our questions.
Immigration, as of late, has been a very hot topic, as you know. So given the current climate in terms of immigration policy under Trump. How do you anticipate that may be influencing what happens next, or has it already influenced the response so far? Like, were you surprised by what has happened thus far?
Well, certainly partisan perspectives play a role in how people want to frame this issue. With our story, the abuse claims occurred between 2015 and 2018, so it straddled two administrations. Certainly the Democrats want to make this part of the larger debate about the Trump administration's policy of dividing families and holding kids in detention facilities alone. Republicans responded by saying this was happening under Obama and it's Obama's fault. Donald Trump Jr. tweeted as much in response to our story yesterday. So, certainly all this is viewed through a partisan lens. It does appear to be Democratic lawmakers that are pushing the most for an investigation or for answers. But, that's Washington.